Has this ever happened to you? When you sit across from her, listening to her words, yet something in your chest feels hollow, as if your spirit itself is whispering that you are wasting your time. The voice of instinct, the quiet wisdom that the Stoics spoke of, warns you not through noise, but through absence. No joy, no peace, no nourishment of the soul, only a subtle drain, like a candle flickering in the draught of indifference. The Stoics taught that the value of a person is measured not in the glitter of appearances, but in the weight of their character. And yet, how often do men lose themselves in the shimmer of beauty or the seduction of charm, only to discover that behind the mask lies emptiness, chaos, or disdain? A man who chases without reflection becomes a slave to his own projections. He confuses his longing for connection with the reality of what stands before him. What is she giving? What does her presence cultivate in you? Strength, clarity, honor? Or does she leave you restless, diminished, less than you were before? Some women will test the measure of a man not through trials of loyalty, but through subtle poisons of disregard. Her silence is not the sacred silence of understanding, but the silence of absence, a void that denies the bond of human warmth. Her gaze does not see you, but only what you provide: status, attention, protection, an endless offering placed on an altar she will never kneel before. To the untrained mind, this masquerade is hard to see, but to the man who sharpens his perception, who steps outside his hunger and examines with discipline, the signs reveal themselves. Consider the first sign: indifference to your presence. You will notice it, not in the loud rejection, but in the quiet dismissal. When you speak and her eyes wander, when your words fall like stones into an empty well, when your victories mean nothing and your struggles are met with cold air. This is not love, nor even respect. It is the absence of recognition, the most basic currency of human exchange. A woman who cannot value your presence will never value your sacrifice. To remain there is not noble patience, it is self-betrayal. The second sign is the constant demand for more, without gratitude for what already is. Gratitude is the lifeblood of intimacy. Where it is absent, all giving becomes slavery. She asks, but she does not thank. She receives, but she does not honor. Her lips form requests, but her heart remains unmoved. This is not the sacred dance of reciprocity. It is extraction. Seneca warned against pouring into vessels that cannot hold, for the wise man knows that to give endlessly to the ungrateful is to empty himself into a void. And yet many men mistake this extraction for challenge, believing if they just give more, she will finally see. No. A woman without gratitude will never awaken to it by excess. The third sign lies in her contempt for boundaries. She laughs at your principles, mocks your discipline, trivializes the standards you set for your own life. She is not threatened by them. She simply does not care. And so, like a storm that erodes a cliff, she will slowly wear down the walls of your fortress until you stand defenseless, wondering how you became a man without a core. A Stoic man does not fear losing a woman. He fears losing himself, for to lose the self is to lose all. Notice then how the pattern emerges: disregard, ingratitude, and erosion of your essence. The man who sees these signs and remains is no longer with her. He is at war with himself. He tries to tame the wildness of her shadow by sacrificing his own light. But shadows cannot be bargained with. They either integrate through awareness or they consume. You cannot heal her by destroying yourself. You cannot teach her reverence by kneeling at her feet. The ancient sages spoke of temperance, of choosing not what merely excites, but what endures. Imagine the man who, bound to a woman who disrespects him, feels his chest grow heavy each morning. He rises, but his spirit does not. He smiles, but his soul withers. He begins to doubt not only her, but himself. The tragedy is not her cruelty, it is his blindness. And blindness left untreated becomes chains. You, listener, must ask yourself, are you seeing her as she is, or as you wish her to be? Are you loving her reality, or your projection? The harsh truth is that some women are not meant to be your mirror. They are meant to be your lesson. The lesson of walking away. The lesson of reclaiming your dignity. The lesson of remembering that your time is the most precious currency you will ever spend. A man's worth is not measured by how much he can endure from the wrong woman, but by how swiftly he can recognize she is wrong. To continue where there is no respect, no gratitude, no honor, is not love. It is attachment. And attachment, when chained to the wrong soul, is simply another form of self-inflicted suffering. The fourth sign emerges like a shadow at dusk, her delight in chaos. Not the vibrant spontaneity of a free spirit, but the darker pull of instability. Her moods shift like sudden storms, and with each outburst, she drags you into turbulence that was never yours to bear. One moment, you are the savior, the anchor, the rock she clings to. The next, you are the villain, blamed for winds that blew long before you arrived. This volatility is not passion. It is a wound seeking a caretaker. And if you do not awaken, you will spend your strength trying to mend what she herself refuses to heal. Modern psychology calls it trauma reenactment. She repeats old patterns, summoning chaos as proof of love, testing if you will endure the storm. Yet endurance in this case is not strength, but submission. A Stoic man does not enter another storm without purpose. He knows that empathy must never become enslavement. To save her from drowning while you forget how to breathe is no act of nobility. It is the slow death of your essence. Observe the cycle. She provokes, you defend. She withdraws, you chase. She erupts, you soothe. Each time, you invest a piece of your soul, and each time, she leaves you weaker than before. This is not love. It is a ritual of power. Jung would say you are dancing with her shadow, mistaking the drama for intimacy. But intimacy does not devour, it nourishes. The storm may feel intoxicating in the moment, but storms always leave wreckage behind. Then comes the fifth sign, the most subtle and most lethal. She does not inspire the man in you. True connection calls forth the highest version of who you are. In her presence, do you feel the discipline of a warrior, the calm of a sage, the vitality of a creator? Or do you feel dulled, distracted, stripped of your purpose? A woman unworthy of your time does not sharpen your spirit. She dulls it. She is not the muse who awakens vision, but the siren who lures you from it. And when a man abandons his calling for the comfort of distraction, he does not merely lose love, he loses himself. The Stoics warned that external things, wealth, beauty, status, even companionship, are indifferent compared to the state of one's soul. If she diminishes your soul, no amount of beauty can redeem her. If she diverts you from your path, no amount of sweetness can disguise the theft. The greatest tragedy is not the woman who wastes your time. It is the man who consents to be wasted. Picture the man who wakes beside such a woman year after year. His shoulders curve downward, his eyes dim, his voice loses its edge. He has forgotten the man he once wanted to be, and yet, when he dares to trace the origin of his decline, It is not fate he must blame, but his refusal to walk away when the signs first appeared. He thought leaving would cost him love, but staying cost him everything else. Now turn this question inward. Do you feel expansion or contraction when you are with her? Do you rise taller, breathe deeper, dream wider? Or do you shrink, hesitate, second guess, silence your voice to preserve the fragile peace? Your body knows before your mind admits it. The chest tightens, the gut churns, the spirit whispers, she is not worth your time. And what is time, if not the most precious resource of a man's life? Every hour given to the wrong woman is an hour stolen from the right path. Every year wasted in her shadow is a year stolen from your destiny. You cannot buy it back. You cannot negotiate it away. It is gone. And for what? For the fleeting comfort of someone who never saw you, never thanked you, never honored the man you are becoming. The Stoic path is not coldness, it is clarity. To walk away from her is not to reject love, it is to preserve the possibility of true love. To release her is not cruelty, it is self-respect. And self-respect is the soil from which all strength grows. Remember this: the man who cannot leave what is unworthy will never reach what is worthy. To let go is to rise. To rise is to return to your essence. And in that essence lies a peace that no woman, no rejection, no storm can take away. A man bound to what is beneath him is a man divided against himself. And nothing fractures the spirit more deeply than living in contradiction, knowing she is unworthy, yet staying as if her presence is oxygen. This is the silent war of countless men, the war between their higher reason and their lower attachment. The Stoics named it prohairesis, the faculty of choice, the inner citadel, where a man decides not what happens to him, but how he responds. Yet many surrender this citadel, handing the keys of their sovereignty to a woman who does not even value it. Imagine the slow corrosion. He begins with clear principles, standards he once thought unshakable. But her mockery, her indifference, her storms erode them grain by grain. He tells himself it is love, that to endure is to be noble, that sacrifice is proof of devotion. Yet each concession is not devotion, but defeat. And defeat, once repeated, becomes identity. Soon he no longer recognizes the man in the mirror. His shoulders slump, his words lose their weight, his gaze is hollow. He has been emptied, not by tragedy, but by tolerating what he knew all along. Jung spoke of the anima, the feminine presence within a man's unconscious. When undeveloped, it can project outward, attaching itself to women who embody not truth, but fantasy. He does not love her. He loves the reflection of his unmet need. She becomes the canvas for his anima projection, the dream of salvation, of wholeness, of nurture. But when she cannot carry that dream, when she shows her reality in all its shadow, he clings harder, hoping to recover what was never hers to give. This is not relationship. It is delusion, and delusion, when indulged, becomes prison. There is a particular cruelty in wasted time. For time is not a wound that heals. It is a currency that never returns. A man can recover wealth, rebuild health, even restore reputation. But an hour given to the wrong woman is an hour erased from his destiny. Multiply that by years, and you see the quiet tragedy of men who die with their greatness unfulfilled, not because they lacked talent, but because they squandered their energy on someone who never deserved it. Ask yourself then, what is the cost of your presence? To stand beside you is no small thing. It is to stand with a man of vision, a man capable of building protecting, and enduring. If she cannot honor that, then her presence is theft. And theft, no matter how beautiful the thief, remains a violation. Why would you tolerate what strips you of your essence? Why would you bind yourself to one who laughs at your fire, rather than feeding it? The Stoics would not advise bitterness. They would not urge hatred or revenge. Instead, they would counsel clarity. To see clearly is to cut ties not in anger, but in peace. To release not because she failed you, but because you refuse to fail yourself. Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." A woman unworthy of your time is the very embodiment of that waste, and to remain is to prove her right, that you do not value yourself as much as you claim. Strength is not in clinging. Strength is in letting go. To release her hand when your soul is already screaming for freedom, that is courage. To walk into solitude rather than into the slow death of your spirit, that is power. Many men fear loneliness so deeply that they tolerate insult and neglect just to avoid its shadow. But the Stoic man embraces solitude, for he knows that aloneness is not emptiness. It is clarity, it is training, it is the ground from which true love may one day rise. Picture this shift: the man who finally recognizes the signs, who at last lays down the burden of trying to prove his worth to a woman who never saw it. He does not slam the door. He does not beg. He does not curse. He simply walks, silent, steady, resolved. And in that walk, the air grows lighter. The chest expands. The path becomes visible again. He is no longer chasing her approval. He is returning to himself. There is a freedom that comes not in gaining, but in releasing. To let go of a woman who is not worth your time is to cut the chain that binds you to mediocrity. It is not rejection, but liberation. The return of your energy to its rightful owner. And when that energy flows back to you, it awakens something ancient. The primal dignity of a man who refuses to live beneath himself. He stands taller, not because the world has changed, but because he has remembered his own height. He walks more firmly, not because the road is smoother, but because he has reclaimed his steps. What once felt like loss now reveals itself as clarity. What once felt like emptiness now becomes fertile ground. In leaving her behind, he is not left with nothing. He is left with himself. And that is everything. The Stoics did not seek control over others. They sought mastery over the self. A woman unworthy of your time thrives on distraction, on consuming your attention, on feeding her shadow with your light. To withdraw that light is not cruelty, it is discipline, for your attention is the flame of your destiny. Where you direct it, life grows. Where you squander it, life decays. She may try to pull you back, not because she loves you, but because she loves the supply of your energy. Yet when you no longer provide it, her power dissolves like mist in the morning sun. This is the moment of transformation. The silence after her absence may feel heavy, but within that silence lies your rebirth. No more explaining, no more convincing, no more bargaining with someone who was never invested. You do not need her to understand. You do not need her to change. You do not need her at all. And when you realize this, the chains fall, the heart steadies, the path clears. Jung wrote of individuation, the process of becoming whole, of integrating shadow and light, of returning to the core self untouched by illusion. To walk away from the wrong woman is a step in that journey. It is not bitterness, it is balance. It is not cynicism, it is clarity. The man who learns this no longer fears solitude, for he knows solitude is not exile, but training. In solitude, he sharpens his mind, strengthens his body, aligns his spirit. He prepares not for her return, but for his own ascension. And then comes the most profound truth. The right woman, if she ever appears, will not require you to shrink. She will not mock your discipline, ignore your presence, drain your spirit, or erode your path. She will stand beside you as iron sharpens iron, as flame joins flame. You will not lose yourself to love. You will find more of yourself within it. That is the difference between a woman who is not worth your time and one who is. The man who understands this never begs for worthiness in another. He does not chase shadows nor cling to illusions. He simply lives aligned with his nature, and in that alignment, he attracts not chaos, but harmony, not disrespect, but reverence, not waste, but abundance. So let the memory of her fade. Let the grip of her diminish. Let the lessons remain, but let your energy rise again. You have walked through her storm, and now you stand in the clear air of your own sovereignty.